If you're a wrestler that don't get a lot of respect, man, this guy here sure does. People here know him as Charlie the Coach. We got Charlie Morris in the house. What's up, Chuck?
What's going on, my man? Wrestling saved my life. Late 80s, early 90s. New York City, there was a war. Crack and AIDS was killing everybody. Either you was gonna be a drug dealer or you was gonna be a crackhead. I went to my coach. My coach says, you need to wrestle for me or you're gonna die.
You say that with so much passion, like you know that.
100%. Like if I did not wrestle, this anger would have had to go someplace. It was one-on-one. It was a fight. It was a war. That person in front of me, they were my problems. And I got to go up against my problems every time. Win or lose, I got to stand there. I didn't have to run from them.
Right.
You had to face them. And that's what it was. It totally changed my life.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time! Presenting the champion of the world, WamBam Benamino!
Yo, it's your boy. It's Phil WamBam Benamino, the show about ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. And today's no different. But as always, before, we got to ask you to show us some love, man. Please subscribe. Click that button down below. Subscribe to our podcast. Subscribe to all of our social media stuffs. Make sure you like it. Give us a comment. Even if you don't like it, give us a comment. Give us a feedback. Let us know what we can do to improve and stuff, as we want to continue to give you the great content and materials to you. There's a little alert button. Make sure you click that alert button. It's going to give you all of our alerts and all of our shows. Today's show, if you're a wrestler, okay, that don't get a lot of respect, man, this guy here sure does. Not only has he wrestled in school, he's from the New York, that's right, baby. The New York, the greatest city of all. Okay, I'm not going to lie. But he came here as an entrepreneur. A black entrepreneur. Was really the first black business here in Forsyth County. People here know him as Charlie the Coach. We got Charlie Morris in the house. What's up, Chuck?
What's going on, my man?
How are you, baby?
Dude, I'm great, man.
Great, man. Thank you so much for being here today and making the time and stuff. Listen, so many different accomplishments, but I'm just going to go ahead and start out first. Being the first black entrepreneur coach, having a business here in Forsyth County. What was that like, man, back in the day? Because back in the day, man, things were different.
You know, it's interesting, right? First of all, it's Forsyth County, right? And before, and
we're talking Georgia, folks. Forsyth County, Georgia.
Right. We're talking, the Lake Lanier, Georgia.
Yeah.
Forsyth County.
Back days,
right?
man. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Oprah had come down, and she was in Forsyth County. I don't know if you remember, and they was protesting the Klan.
Yes, I know.
And that was crazy, right?
The mayor, actually, we had an episode with the mayor was on here, was telling us a little bit about that.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that and stuff like that. And then, so anyway, I was at a small studio doing personal training, and I wanted to open up my own business, right? I had to find my own space, and I was driving around, and I ended up in Forsyth County, right? My landlord, greatest man on the planet, his name is Roger Daniels, right? He's like, I walk in, he's a good old boy. He goes, what do you want to do? I go, I want to open up a personal training studio here. He goes, a what? I said, a personal training studio. That's what I want to do. He goes, well, what is that going to do? He goes, I'm gonna run a small business out of it. You know what he does? He reaches over in his desk, throws the keys, and says, go get your business license and everything else, and you can start your business. And I was like, I don't have to sign no paper. He was, I'm from New York, right? He was like, no. I was like, no credit check? I said, no credit check. He goes, you seem like a good man, right? And I was like, all right. So then the journey begins, right?
Right.
So I go up to go get try to get my business license and all that other stuff. I would go up there, and they was like, you want to do what? I was like, I want to open up a business, have my own personal training studio, small little wrestling thing. And the guy would look at me, he was like, for what? I was like, because that's what I want to do. Well, fill out these papers. Okay. I'll call you. Oh, okay. No call came. I went back. Hey, I want to check on my application and all that other stuff. Well, what do you want to do again? I said, listen, My business is just like Howard McCann's business across the street. He teaches kids baseball. I go, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a little bit of wrestling and personal training. Well, we'll see. We got to make sure your business is qualified to do these kind of things because this is warehouse space.
So you're starting to feel this now? You're starting to
Dude,
feel like, wait a second, something's funny.
Like
a little funny around here.
What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? And I would go up every day. And then finally, you know what I did? I took a box of donuts and I went up and I got to meet the people there.
Yeah.
I shook hands with the people. And then I realized it wasn't what I thought it was. It was, you're not from around here. Why do you want to come to our community? Right? The minute I got to know the people's names and get to, see them smile and see the ladies smile because they're already stressed, everything changed.
Yeah.
I was like, what you want to do, Charlie? Because by then, they all knew who I was, right?
You're a donut man.
Yo.
They say you can, it's better to hit somebody with sugar, than vinegar, right?
And then, and then you realize, from New York, down here, we're not ones to say hello right away, right? We're like, what? What are you looking at? The power of a smile, the power to say yes, the power to say thank you. It changes. And when you treat people with respect, they have to treat you with respect back. Right. And once I established what I was and I was serious about it, they sent their inspectors down and they, you got your occupation papers to say, hey, you're in business. I went back to my landlord. I said, I did it. He goes, you did it? I said, I did it, Raj. And
that's when Morris Fitness was.
It was born. And that's almost over 15 years ago.
Wow, that's awesome.
Over 15 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. I've been able to expand twice. I was in a little small unit, and then I grew into a second unit, and then from that second unit, I have one of the largest personal training wrestling schools in the Southeast.
That's awesome.
Right? We have 7,500 square feet. 3,500 is all dedicated to wrestling from ages, I'll take them as 4 years old all the way up to college.
Yeah.
Right? And it's been a blessing, man.
That's great.
And I finally opened up a second campus up in Gainesville that's doing pretty well too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. Well, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about wrestling. Let's talk a little bit about your story, like how growing up and stuff. I know you came from the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
Man. So you and Jenny,
Yeah.
was Jenny a neighbor of yours or what?
Jenny, all the fine women come. Hey, there's a bunch of Jenny Lopez.
Yeah, but Jenny.
You want that story?
Bring it. Let's
you
hear
want
it.
that story?
Let's hear it. Yeah, absolutely want that
All right,
story.
so
because you know what, people need to hear. Somebody that came in, like you went against some odds here. Going to Forsyth County, KKK was a big deal. Being the first African American to have an actual business and get started and then continue to grow and grow and grow. Now you're family, man.
Right.
Things obviously has changed and people get to know people. But but how did you get into it? What got you here?
So that's a great question. Wrestling saved my life, right? So I'm 53 years old. So we're talking late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. New York City, there was a war. Crack and AIDS was killing everybody, right? Either you was going to be a drug dealer or you was going to be a crackhead, right? And all my friends were driving nice cars in high school.
So we know what they picked.
Right?
Right.
And then you had that component, and then my family, drugs was crushing it, right? I saw AIDS wipe it out, right? So now, single mom, raised, angry young black man, right? I went to my coach at the time, everyone is, doing these things. And my coach says, Charlie, you can either wrestle for me or you're going to die. And Martin Wasserman, big old Jewish guy who's come to see me in Alpharetta.
Oh, yeah?
Saved my life, man.
That's awesome.
Wrestling. If I didn't wrestle, we wouldn't be having this conversation. That's the God's honest truth. It changed my whole trajectory.
It's funny, though, that you say that with so much passion. Like, you know that.
Oh.
Like, you understand that there was no
100%. Like if I did not wrestle, this anger would have had to go someplace, right? And it allowed me to do something that I couldn't do. It was one-on-one.
Right.
Right? It was a fight. It was a war. Right? That person in front of me, they were my problems. And I got to go up against my problems every time. And I win or lose, I got to stand there. I didn't have to run from them.
Right.
You had to face them. And that's what it was. It totally changed my life. Like, my wrestling room was probably just a little bigger than this space, and like 20 guys would be in there. Hot, smelly, right?
Yeah.
But it molded you. It was a furnace. It was red. And when you came out of it, it changed your world. Because if not, we'd be doing this interview and I'd be behind a cell and I'd be like, hey man, what's going on? Yeah.
Well, we're glad that didn't happen,
Exactly.
man. We're glad that didn't.
But that's what it was, man. That's the story. And it allowed me to end up at a college, Hunter College, right? I had some small D1 offers, but my coach, Bob Gadenzi, you build relationships.
Right.
He's like, hey, I want you to wrestle for me. And I wrestled for Hunter College. I went to the Nationals twice. I was an All-American for them. And I was All-State for them. And in our state tournament, you had
What weight you wrestle back
I
then?
wrestled 167.
167. That's a tough weight class,
Yo,
too, boy.
It was a
tough
tough
weight class. That's right.
One of the toughest.
It was
in the country.
145, believe it or not, back in the day.
I believe
that
it,
was
man.
it, man, which was tough, too.
And I was All-American, wrestled for them. And then after school, after I was done with school, I ended up working for Crunch. And Crunch came to Georgia.
Yeah, the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
came to Georgia. It bought a gym company called Sports Life.
Yep.
And then Sports Life and Crunch sold to Bally's. Bally's wasn't a great company to work for, right? I changed the game for Crunch. I took my club from $60,000 a month to over $100,000 a month in personal training sales. I built that team. And then, everything's going, and it was time to leave, and 9/11 happens, right?
Yeah.
The world's starting
Everything
to.
changed. Yeah.
I had a little girl in this world. I couldn't leave. I decided to work for myself. And in working for myself, I kind of got introduced to the wrestling world. I started coaching a little guy in Milton, and then I started the Northview program, and then the Alpharetta program. And so that whole Johns Creek area was how I got introduced to Georgia wrestling.
Now, being a wrestler yourself, when you were a wrestler, so when did you realize that, hey, I'm kind of good at this? Was that something that you really looked? I mean, I know you said, hey, I did it because I had to do it. But there had to have been a point in time in there when you're like, okay, you know what? Being a national champion, even Division III, is a tough task to do, no matter what level, what sport you're playing in, right? You're one of the best that's out there doing it. But you had to have some sort of swag to understand that, hey, you know what? Not only is this, an outlet for me, but I'm actually pretty good at it.
My high school, my coach, he taught us to work with that confidence. You know what I mean? And I was fortunate to walk into the New York Athletic Club, and they poured into me. They just like, you're talking about the best guys in the world. You had Lee Kemp in there, you had John Jura, you had some of the best guys. You had the Russian team in there. You had Olympians in there. They poured into you, man. They just saw something in the kid, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And
So you knew then, right then and there. Hey,
let me tell you, man, when you're in a room and your first year, if you can survive, then you know. Because most people who start wrestling in college, they never complete that last year.
It's too late.
When someone punches you in the mouth, for real, because you want their spot, it changes you. And then either you get punched in the mouth and you lay down, or you go back. Like Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan. You get punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I put my time in college, Like the first time I went to the Nationals, it was an experience. The second time, I came back with hardware, I ended up placing 7th that year. I took 3rd at the New York AC. I won the Empire State Games, right?
It's huge, big,
Yeah.
big deal. Big deal there.
I was Empire State Games.
Yeah.
That's the 3rd largest competition in the world
That's
at one
right.
point.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you ever go to the Empire State Games during Olympic year, you wrestling nothing but Olympians.
Yeah.
You're getting your head kicked in.
Yeah.
I can promise you. People always be like, Iowa wrestling, this and that. And I'm like, New York, we got something for you.
Yeah. I was a big Dan Gable fan. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I'm saying?
You
How can you
can't
not?
be a wrestling fan without being I met Dan a few times.
Yeah.
So I met Dan when they decided they was going to take the wrestling out of the Olympics, right? And I helped put in Rally for Wrestling, right? Myself, a couple of guys from Virginia, John Hanahan, right? We ended up somehow bringing the whole Olympic team, world team, to Georgia to train here. And, everybody was here. Everybody, David Taylor, Kyle Dake, Jordan Burroughs is walking around. Everybody's here in Georgia, right? And we put this thing on, and we managed to help save wrestling for the Olympics. People don't realize that.
Now, you know what? Wrestling gets a lot of bad rap, and unfortunately, they're not the sport that's at the top, right?
No.
And they're always fighting just to be part. People don't realize, like, colleges and stuff, they don't give scholarships for wrestling. There's only a certain amount. Now there's maybe, 10?
Right.
Did they give, 10 scholarships?
I think, or it might be 9.
Yeah, it's a very small number.
The most.
As far as being able to do that. So you have a very limited way of using wrestling to get into college, let alone surviving if you're not one of those scholarship winners.
So with that being said, right, being a Division III guy, I tell these kids, do not look over the NAIA, right? Georgia has the best NAIA program, one of the best, 2 of the best. But Life University, they've won the nationals, right? Reinhardt College is placed. And you're like, well, they're NAIA. You know what, though? They have more money.
Right.
Why go broke going to school because you want to chase a D1 dream? I get it. We all wanted to chase the dream. But if you don't make it, you're going hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Where if you stay local and went to one of our local schools where you got a chance to win have a chance to win a national championship with them, Zell and Hope and all that other stuff that they give, they apply to the private schools. There's more money. They have more scholarship money, believe it or not.
Well, let's be honest. There's not a whole hell of a lot of careers for a wrestler after wrestling, right?
You're
You
right.
don't see professional wrestling.
You're right.
WWE. That's not the wrestling
You're
we're
right.
talking about.
You're 100% right.
And that's really part of the issue and stuff. The NIL money's made it a little bit more interesting but it
still,
also becomes a problem too.
It does. But like you said, it's like, what do you do after wrestling? I can tell you this. Business owners who wrestle become great business owners.
Absolutely.
I would hire a wrestler any day. If I own a business, which I do, and I hire all my wrestlers, but like if I had a regular business or whatever, if I saw wrestling on their resume, they're getting hired because they understand what dedication is. Right? They understand what sweating is. They understand what hard work is. They understand, going through that process. Right? That's why, when wrestlers meet each other, we have an instant bond.
Right.
Because
you got to also learn how to become and overcome adversity. Because every wrestler, there's only a couple out there that were undefeated their whole lives, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You faced a loss.
Right.
And you got to understand.
You're gonna lose.
Right, you're going to lose.
And even those guys that were undefeated, they faced loss.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what it is.
Yep.
And it
could just be with the scale. It could just be with the scale. You got to make weight. And all of a sudden, boom, you didn't make weight. So what do you got to do? You got to go back in the sauna. You got to go back out for a jog. You got to go get it and stuff. So you're going to overcome adversity as a wrestler. And I think that's why a lot of wrestlers, you see them in combat sports nowadays.
Right.
They're turning into these fighters.
They're trying to, get there.
There's an outlet there. There's an outlet that a wrestler can now actually perform as a professional athlete and get paid.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've seen him on hands. Actually, Torres Finney, which was on our podcast, great wrestler, phenomenal. He's turned in to be a pretty damn good fighter. In fact, won the Contender Series already, and just had one of the biggest knockouts a couple weekends ago.
Well, when you think about some of the greats like
Randy Couture. Yeah.
Coleman.
Tito Ortiz. They're all freaking wrestlers.
Dude, they
you
all.
know, Matt Hughes,
Matt Hughes.
I can go on and on, you know.
You know,
even Franklin was a wrestler. I mean, these guys were wrestlers that turned into.
What's his name? Chael Saunders?
Yeah, Chael Saunders.
I mean,
great
like,
wrestler.
you know, they all have a wrestling.
Even the
background.
GOAT. John Jones, baby.
Yo.
Yeah, even the GOAT.
He
wrestled.
Wrestle.
You know?
Daniel Cormier.
Yes, wrestle.
Like,
That's right.
like the list goes on. Like, you know, and the up and coming stars like Bo Nickel.
Yes.
He's gonna be on top, right?
Yeah.
Now what's happening now, they're smarter. They're graduating with degrees.
Yes.
And now they're going into business. Now they're opening up wrestling schools. You know, you got Mako, who has American Top Team down in Florida, right? His kids are amazing in wrestling. He was a 2-time NCAA champion, right? Nicest dude on a planet. But will foot sweep this living shit out of you, bro.
Right.
Animal.
Right.
But they're getting smarter, right? They realize that, hey, we're gonna make a living, right? Because you can only take so many punches. Right?
Right.
You can only do so many things. So they're getting smarter. They're able to, you know, articulate better. They're able to, you know, use social media better. You know, they're able to, you know, promote themselves better. And, you know, that degree that they've gotten in business is helping with their brand because they become their own brand. So you see that a lot, you know.
Hey, folks, this is WamBam at WamBam's podcast. I want to take a moment to thank our major sponsor, Cost Plus Processing, the leader in merchant processing. If you're a business owner and you're accepting credit cards or need to accept credit cards, reach out to Cost Plus Processing at 1-855-391-9190. That's 1-855-391-9190. And find out why they are the future in merchant processing. Now back to the show.
But
you know, what's it like though when you're coaching these kids? Because you're coaching at all levels, obviously.
Yes.
And you're seeing kids that maybe not so good. Other kids that are great.
Man,
some kids you see a future. Some kids you don't.
Well, you know, no. Let's take that back. They all have a future, right?
Agreed.
They all have a future.
In the sport.
And you know, I've been doing it a long time, and so, you know, I've made my mistakes. Right? I've pushed kids because I wanted to win, and I want to win this champion, and I won it all. I won a 10U state championship. I won an 8U state champion. I won a Georgia state title. I did it all with my club. But what was the benefit, right? Now, these kids, some of them, you start to realize, you know, what kind of game are we playing? Do we want to see them continue in high school? That's the goal. If they continue in college, you're winning, right? Well, I have some that are wrestling in the Big Ten as we speak. Georgia had his first national championship. You know, national champion. We had Caleb Henderson, right? He's an animal.
Yeah.
But it's like we don't want these kids to burn out. We want them to be successful, right? And every day, man, is a new day for me to do better as a coach. And I got them young. I love it. I love the little 5-year-old kid that I, you know, make a mean face and I tell him, look, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to call the fat man and a Christmas present is going back. And they're like, okay, coach, you know. But then, you know, all of a sudden I'm yelling at them and then they're looking at me and they're like,
they respond.
You love me. Yeah. Be nice to me. And that's it. The relationship is there. And you watch them have success. And it's not about taking them to a tournament every weekend or whatever, but it's watching them get strong. It's watching them get that first takedown. The ones that I enjoy the most is the kid who wrestles with me for 3 years, never wins a match, and goes on into high school and has the greatest success.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, the one person the people that mess it up for these kids is the parents. The parents want success. The parents want instant gratification where their kid is on a whole different level. Like, you got to let them go through the fire. Like,
why do you think that is, though, Coach? You know, I've coached a lot of different sports and stuff, and parents always do.
They always compare their kid to the best athlete on the team.
Yeah,
right.
But why do you think? What do you think? Being a parent, you're a parent as well. You know, and I know I have some answers to mine because I got to be honest. Like my son, when I have my son, I'm kind of living through him, right?
There it is.
You know what I mean?
What you just said is it's the parent that's never had success at a sport, and they see their kid as that vehicle, right?
Or the opposite. Maybe the parent has had multiple success at the sport. They want their kid to be just like them and better. And unfortunately, maybe that kid's not into it.
The kid's not a pit bull,
right? He's made for something else. Something else great.
And I always tell the parents, I says, you gotta take your time. You know, you gotta just allow this to happen. You know, I love it when parents are like, "Hey, man, you need to teach some advanced moves because he's getting, you know, he's not, you know,
getting bored.
He's getting bored." I'm like, "Okay, today we're gonna do half Nelsons. Here we go. You're gonna pin the kid." You know, parents get bored.
Right.
Kids don't get bored. Parents get bored. Yeah. You know.
Let me ask you a question because this came up before. When you're coaching and stuff, how many parents actually stick around and watch their kids practice?
Well, that's a good question.
See, because I find that, like, to me, that's one of the things that always irritated me is that, you know, a lot of parents use the sport as a daycare.
As a daycare?
You know?
So,
do they really have the kid's best interest or do they have their best interest?
So wrestling is different, right?
You can't force a kid to wrestle.
You can't, no. Right? And Then the other thing is, sometimes I have to kick the parents out because the worst is, you know, and I'm sure you've coached, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so you're teaching a play, right? And then you hear out the sideline, "Hit him hard, Johnny. Go to the right. Go to the right." And you're like,
that's not what a play is.
That's not the play.
Right.
And then that parent, it's disrupted your whole practice. And then I tell parents, I says, "Listen to me. You pay me money to teach your kid." I says, when your kid goes to school, do you yell out in the middle of his classroom, "Write A" or "Write B"? You don't yell the answers out in the school, do you?
Right.
You can't. This is his classroom. Respect me and let him learn and get through the process. That's where the term trust the process comes from. Trust the process. Because I'm never going to give your kid bad advice.
Right.
Right? And it's not until the parent has left and then they come back and they're like, "Hey, I now see the vision." Because it's always the long vision. Mm-hmm. Right? And as a result, if you look at all the state champions that are from this area, at some point they came through my room. Mm-hmm. At some point. Mount Pisgah, that whole squad, they came through my room. If you look at most of the state champions on that west wall, they came through my room. Mm-hmm. Some of the state champions on that north wall, they came through my room. You know? Anyone who's placed within the last, like with COVID, that COVID year, we had like over 20-something kids place or win the state championships across all boards.
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about awards. Are you big on giving kids awards all the time and, you know, these participation tournament awards? What's your theory on that, man? I'm curious.
I'm different.
Yeah. We get that wrestler mentality. I'm trying to find out what
we're different. I'm different.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
I'm different. Participation can be rewarded by saying, "Great job. You're doing amazing." It's not that I don't give nothing to any of these kids, right? When I have a tournament in my gym, we have a tournament, only one person gets an award, the champion.
That's it.
Second place, you get a shake of the hand. Third place, steak knives. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. Oh, yeah, boiler. I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Cadillac Eldorado. First place, second place, steak knives. That's right.
You know?
Third place, go find another job.
Hey, just
No, that movie very well.
that the original
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, that's it.
Put that coffee down, baby.
Yeah, coffee's for closers.
That's right.
So, if you come in second place, amazing job. You did amazing, coach. I didn't win the tournament. Then you need to work harder.
Yeah.
Right? We don't. Why? We can celebrate accomplishments, but we don't have to. Because then a kid thinks he's getting something every time. And I want these kids to step off the mat going, hey, I got to push myself to do better.
Yeah.
Georgia wrestling has come a long way.
I think wrestling itself has come a long ways. In fact, heck, I think you got the Charlie's Angels team,
Yeah.
which are all women, right? That are lighting it up on fire right
Man,
now and
so-
stuff.
So
You didn't have women wrestling back in the day when we wrestled. In fact, too many people were making fun of us, right? Back in the 80s and stuff, wearing the singlets and two guys rolling around the mat. We got frowned upon,
Man,
right?
it was-
for a long time. It
was
took
like
a lot to overcome.
It was, but when we wore it, it was like it was cool. But then as you came forward, well, he doesn't want to wrestle because he doesn't want to wear the singlet.
Yeah.
I'm like, it ain't. Who cares?
It was an excuse.
I'm like, put the singlet on.
Yeah.
Let's go to war.
So what's it like having girls on a team though and stuff, dude?
Dude,
Are they wrestling the guys as
better.
well and everything else?
So one of the things in my room, right? If you got to wrestle with a girl, you better be nice because I'll kill you, right? You ain't gonna slam her. There's no like we treat them with the utmost respect, and they know that, and they thrive with that. And then I created their own practices. Let me tell you, you're in a room with 10 women, it changes, the dynamic changes.
Wait a second. That's any room with 10 women. I don't care where you are. The dynamics are going to change, let alone a wrestling room.
Man. But it changes.
Does it turn into be a real combat sport? Like these girls go at it, man. They're
So-
competitive. I know they're
Dude,
competitive as hell.
They're just like dudes,
Yeah.
right? When they get along, they push each other, right? They do everything that happens in a boys' practice happens amongst girls. They talk about whatever they're gonna talk about. They got gas the same way. They're human, right? And they let down their hair, and holy cow, man, it's a war. They go at it. That's the difference. And when they know that they're there and you respect them as wrestlers, they thrive. They do better. I mean, Georgia has Amani Jones, who just made another world team for us. We have multiple All-Americans. You got Life University, has one of the best women's program in the country, right?
So tell me, who do you like to coach better, men or women? Let's be honest. You got to pick one, coach.
I like coaching the dudes. Let me tell you, because I say crazy stuff, right? While they're coaching,
So you don't have to watch your mouth as much.
not as much. I tell them, look, grab them by the throat and drag them in. Because I don't say throat. I'm from New York. I say you grab them by the throat.
Yeah.
You grab them and you drag them back in there. You hear me? With women, you kind of got to be a little bit more sensitive. But then I've been at tournaments and they're like, talk crazy to me, coach. I'm like, yo, then you better
I talk crazy to me.
cross-face the living sugar honey iced tea out of her. You hear me? You better cross-face her. And they're like, yeah. It's funny. The Charlie's Angels, I have two other guys, Kobe Yates and my man John Saback, who's out in Chicago, right? And I don't know how it happened, but we're like-minded guys, right? We believe, and you know how you say the underdog? Charlie's Angels started out as the underdog, but we were the underdogs because our girls, nobody wanted, like you said in football,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Let me get them with a year under our belt.
Yeah.
Well, we had them for a year under our belt, and we won the AAU Nationals, right? And then all of a sudden, I get a knock on the door. Hey, man,
People start wanting them.
you're now the AAU National Coach of the Year. I was like, who? Me? I'm the AAU National Coach of the Year? Me? And they're like, yeah, you deserve it. And I was like, it's really a team effort, You have support guys, and you have these little girls who believe. And they all love to be a MF Angel, right? Charlie's MF Angel.
Sure.
They love that.
Yeah.
People like, you really put MF on your stuff? I'm like, yes, I do. And they're like, what does MF stand for? And I'm like, you know what MF stands for. You know exactly what MF stands for, right? And then they're like,
Morris
really?
Fitness.
Here
That's what
it is, baby.
Morris Fitness.
Morris
You
Fitness.
dirty people out there.
You know, and it's funny, man, because we have a little creed that the kids have to repeat after me. It's like they have to say, I am a MF Savage. Yeah. When I step on a mat, it's just me and my opponent. I control the outcome. I will outwork him. I'll take him down again and again. I'm prepared. I am focused. My coaches have given me the tools to succeed. My opponent is the prey. I'm the predator. And then this part right here,
yeah.
And they be like, I am A-M-F Savage.
Oh man, I want to go wrestle right now, baby.
You know?
Let's go.
And when you got like 5-year-olds repeating this.
Yeah.
They're walking
Awesome.
around. I'm an MF Savage.
Awesome.
And then people are like, well, what does MF stand for to them? They're like, Morris Fitness. What do you think it means? Like they have no idea. Right. And the first time my parent hears it, they're like,
yeah. Right.
But what's great about that is I've watched the evolution of Georgia wrestling from the little guys to like the guys we got in college. Like the Jackson Smith, the Caleb Henson, who won, like I said, he won the NCAAs. He's probably gonna be our first 3-timer.
Yeah.
Right. And then you got Tyler Lillard who wrestled at Indiana. He wrestled with me, was little. You got Gabe Arnold, right? Gabe Arnold's probably one of my favorite wrestlers. They were from Albany, Georgia, and his dad, Phil, we just connected. Mm-hmm. Well, Gabe's wrestling at the University of Iowa now. Yeah. Like he's a superstar there.
Right.
And the best thing about these kids, they never forget their roots, bro.
What weight class does he wrestle?
He's 174.
So Angelo Ferrari's going to be going there, right? He just
so
committed there.
So the Ferraris.
So let's talk about that for a second. What are your thoughts on that, man? 34-0, 2-time Texas champ, was Oklahoma State champ.
Have you seen Gabe Arnold?
So
I'm sure Gabe will probably be 184 or Angela. I mean, all three of the Ferraris are there.
Yeah,
they'll work it out because they really are good friends. And Iowa's just loading up, man. Yeah. They just loading up. They got to get loaded because Penn State is no joke.
Right. Let me ask you this, though. Talking about, even with Ferrari, what is your thought process on these kids that are being held back? Okay, to get that extra senior year high school in, to get that little bit more,
that's a great,
bit more time.
That's a great question. It serves two purposes, right? There's some kids who just are not mature enough or ready for high school. They're little. Mm-hmm. Some of them haven't grown yet, right? Some of them haven't matured yet. Now,
but shouldn't that have been found out in the younger ages?
Here's the deal, right? Yes. But it's when it's the 2-time held back. That's a problem.
Yeah, you got a 19-year-old senior. It's a little different, man. I mean, we talked about that. We talked about earlier before the show. These guys are 22, 24 years old in college, going professional even further to another level, 26, 28-year-olds.
Here's my guy, right?
It's real.
I'm going to have to go back to like the Gabe Arnold effect, right? He never was held back.
Yeah.
That kid was young. He was the youngest kid his whole life, and he's thriving, beating college All-Americans.
Right.
Thriving.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, again, some of that is the ego of the parent. I want my kid to win.
Thank you. That's what I was.
Some of it is the ego of the parent. I want him to win. I want little Johnny to win.
Right.
And it's not fun, though, because it balances out. Because, again, you know what? Here's what they don't realize. Little Johnny only has so many shots in his legs, meaning he's only got so many doubles he's going to take, right? So what happens is you hold him back, right? His body's getting beat up anyway, right? People are trying to prove a point to smash him. And then when he finally gets to college, right, he's not doing what he said, what he's supposed to do. You know what I mean? Because his body's been beat up. He hasn't been given the opportunity to grow. I believe, hey, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You can't force a national championship.
Right. I do think there's a place for it. I mean,
Texas,
I'll give you a good example. Your kids, at a situation, maybe he gets hurt and he's down for a year, so he misses a whole year. You know he's, maybe broke a leg, something happened to him. Maybe he got family problems. Maybe he got to move. Maybe he got divorced. So he had some life changes.
Well, they got situations,
and that affected the child mentally.
But you know what though? You can always. They have some post grad schools. There are some. Like Fork Union Military Academy is a post-grad school. There's some private schools. I know Blair has a post-grad program. So there's some places you can go for that extra work. But, it also mentally, psychologically, some of these kids are smart and they don't want to be held back. Like it does, that then the game changes. Well, then I'm going to homeschool you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's a whole nother category in itself. But the game is changing, man. Sports is changing the whole way it goes, I
mean, let me ask you, you got any transgenders?
No.
Have you seen any of that or wrestling with any of those?
No.
And what is your thought on that? I mean, you got a guy that becomes a girl. There's got to be an edge, man.
I haven't seen it. And I haven't had to deal with it, right? Our community is very tight. Like the wrestling community is very bravado. You know what I mean? Like now his was crazy, right? Girls can wrestle in the guys division. Mm-hmm. Girls are allowed to wrestle in the guys division. Right? At the youth level, but you can't show up with your son and be like, oh, he's wrestling girls today.
The funny thing is, when they first started wrestling, they had to wrestle in the guys division.
They had no choice.
Because there wasn't enough talent out there for them to wrestle against. So, even in practices, that's got to be challenging. You're fortunate because you're...
CJ Bertrand, she went to Mount Pisgah. She placed 3 years in a row on the boys' side. First Georgia girl to do so. We've had girls place on the boys' side, right? But now they changed the rules. Girls have to wrestle girls. They got, they took it out.
How do you feel about that?
It's mixed feelings, right? A boy is wrestling a boy, right? But the parents are the ones again, right? Oh, she won that division and she beat all the boys. Okay, then they're like, she was in it in the finals and she lost to the boy. Only reason why she lost is because he was a boy. Right. Well, which one you want?
Right.
Is it because she's a girl or is she a wrestler?
But you said the word parent. And the parents are always going to be proud, man.
And the parents are. So Georgia is...
Man, you know what? Let's talk about that for a second because you just got me thinking here because we talked about parents and we talk about sports and we talk about commitment and dedication. But the parents got to be locked in too, man, because wrestling's really one of those sports, dude. Because I remember growing up being young. My father used to pack the lunch. We had a tournament.
So let me
You're
ask
there
you this.
7 a.m.
Did your dad
for
wrestle?
wins. Yeah, my dad wrestled, of course. Yeah.
So
and he forced me to wrestle. I ain't gonna lie.
So here's the deal. The problem with Georgia is we're not generationally deep.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the first person that these kids ever learned from. If your dad wrestled, the first step was you probably walked like a little hunchback because he was like getting your stance, or you sat on his lap and you were fighting the hands your whole life, or your mom's changing your diaper and your dad's in the corner going, get off your back, and you're trying to flip off your back, Yeah,
but I'm talking about the time commitment from the parents' side. You got a tournament on a Saturday. You had to wake up early to get there by 7 to weigh in, and then you're sitting around until 11 or 12 before wrestle. And if you win, you're going to wrestle 2 or 3 hours later. It's a long day. It's a long weekend.
It is a long weekend.
That's what I'm saying. It's not like a football game. You go and you play the game, it's over, you go home.
So I know that. And so I've come up with my own tournaments where we will only do like 8 and 10-year-olds, and we'll get the parents in there. We'll say, hey, we're going to get you out of here in 3 hours. And they're happy with it. And they'll get a bunch of matches. And then there's other things that are out there called Warzone that's able to get matches through. So that we're trying to answer those solutions.
Oh,
right?
Nice.
So that you don't have to be there all day. Because little Johnny goes to a tournament. He waits 3 hours to wrestle. He's on a mat for a whole total of 3 minutes. And you've been there for 8 hours.
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't add up.
And that's if he lasted 3 minutes.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
He didn't get pinned.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and now he's shook. He's cold in his building, hungry. His glucose level doesn't drop. You're like, you're angry because you didn't get to eat and you waited just so he can lose.
Right.
You know, so.
Sorry,
know.
Dad. Sorry, Dad. My dad
But
went
you
to
know-
Lotto when I was younger. I counted a few lights out there when I was a kid, man, growing up, for sure. Hey, folks, this is WamBam at WamBam's podcast. I just wanted to let you know that we've launched our website and merchandise is now available to you. That's right. We have hats. We have T-shirts. We have hoodies. The hoodies have been going off the shelf already. The Stay Positive hoodies. That's right. Stay positive, folks, and keep tested negative. As you know, go to our website at www.wambamspodcast.com. That's www.wambamspodcast.com. Now back to our show.
But you know, it's funny, man. But we're trying to do better. We really are. We're trying to give the parents more entertainment. We try to, you know, have more fun. I got involved with a group called War, and they kind of got the formula down where they give out great prizes, you know, great awards, right? They recognize good skills, and they kind of get you in and out, right? And that's the whole thing. They can run a tournament with 600 kids and get you out in 4 or 5 hours. That's fast,
Right.
You know, that's what you need, you know. But you got to have a team, right? You have to have the software. You know, it's a numbers thing, in, out, calculating everything. But it's a lot of work, though.
Yeah. Now, do you do a lot of tournaments with your team? Do you guys travel a lot of places? And I know there's one September. It's Elite 8 here in Atlanta. Do you guys go to that one as well? Or?
No, that's like one of those high, like those are like super all-star teams.
Yeah, they're
from
great.
Kids all over the country.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we're about to go to the NHSCAs. We're gonna take 6 teams down there. We're taking 2 high school, 2 middle school, 2 elementary schools.
Nice.
Right, and then we'll do a couple of tournaments. But during the season, especially for my new parents, I try not to burn them out.
Yeah.
I try not to, you know, get them, because if you're winning, it's great.
Either way, it costs money.
It does.
And it costs time.
It does.
Which is money also
It
at the
is.
end of the day.
But I got to say, though, wrestling's cheaper than baseball.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And
You know,
gymnastics.
We're cheaper than gymnastics.
Gymnastics will get
We're cheaper than football.
Yeah.
You know, but it's overall, you know, going back to it, Georgia parents and stuff like that, new parents become crazy parents because they're the ones that, you know, they fall in love with the sport and they want to push their kids and, you know, and get them here and there. But then they realize as the kids get older that, hey, let me back up and let the kid finish the sport on his own terms, you know.
What is your so tell me, what is your thoughts of David Taylor, an Oklahoma State coach?
That was great.
You know, were you excited to see that?
You got to. You know, you Dan Gable, every coach that coached under Dan Gable was a great coach.
Yeah.
Every coach, right? Kale, you know who his coach was in college? It was Bobby Douglas. Bobby Douglas won the national championships at Iowa State, I believe. He had a national championship team there, or was it Arizona? One or the other. But from Bobby, who's one of the greatest wrestlers in, you know, our history, you got Kale, right, who's built a powerhouse. David Taylor knows the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of time before more coaches come out of that Penn State program.
Right.
Because you know what the ultimate goal is for a coach when they leave your program? To beat you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Look, in Georgia, 2 of the most successful programs, right? You got the Backyard Brawlers, right? Little kids. Mm-hmm. Danny, he came out of my program. He'll tell you, he coached with me when all the kids up in Forsyth County were little babies. Danny Gatt was coming over here, right? And then you got my man Sammy Roundtree, right? Sammy Roundtree was with me, and then he opened up his own club, right? And you know what's funny? I have great relationships with these guys. I get phone calls from both of them. What do you think it is? Right? I check up on them. How's it going? And they all say, Chuck, you were right about this, or Chuck, you were right about that. And you know, people think, you know, yeah, we're competition, but I still kind of mentor those 2 guys. So think about it. Taylor's going to want to see David Taylor become what? Successful, because he's a direct reflection of him. You know? And that's the bottom line. It's like that's his son. Like Oklahoma's going to be a mini Penn State is what we're hoping for. You know what I mean? And Taylor's going to get paid good money, and he can do it. He will change that part. Oklahoma's one of the oldest, I believe it's the most winningest program in the history of NCAA wrestling, right? And so they want to get back on top.
Right.
Right? It's been a long time since Oklahoma won. And so why not get one of the best?
Yeah,
because, people are like, well, why is David Taylor leaving? He ain't in college.
Right.
He didn't make the Olympic team.
That's all you got.
What did we just talk about? The first thing we talked about.
Right.
Life after wrestling.
Life after the Olympics,
wrestling.
and that's it.
This man got to live.
Yeah.
He's going to go make his living now. He's already enjoyed his wrestling life.
Yeah.
Life after wrestling. Now he's going to go create more.
Right.
And he already has like little schools.
Yeah.
So now he's get to work on the biggest level. Oklahoma's about to change. The whole state is about to change.
So Oklahoma, Penn State, who are you going to take in that duel in 2 years?
Oh, dude. They won't be ready for them in 2 years.
No? So 2 years isn't enough.
Nah, he's gonna need another. He's gonna have to, because you got to remember, Penn State still is going to be able to pull that person, right? David Taylor's going to have to recruit. He's going to have to.
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about pulling that person, because you and I both know, we talked about this before with his NIL money,
right,
and different things,
right,
and getting to the next level and
right,
stuff. How is that affecting wrestlers today, and what is it like?
Have you not seen the portal?
Have you
seen the portal?
Talk about it a little bit.
The portal, like, so it's a mixed bag, right? There's the loyalty aspect, like, where kids don't care about finishing their career out where they started, right? Or the other game is, hey, I graduated because I'm smart. I won an NCAA title, right? Or I'm an All-American, and I want to continue my education. Here I am. The difference is these kids coming out of high school, it kind of makes them have to work even harder, right? If you're a coach, are you taking the Division III two-time national champion at 175? Or are you taking this high school kid? Right? Who's better? Hands down.
Right. Two-time, proven.
This guy,
proven.
This guy's been through war.
Right.
Right? He's gonna put more points on your board. I don't care who, unless you are that guy.
Right.
Right? If you ain't that guy, then you got a whole another. Now what's gonna happen? The NAI schools are gonna, do better. The JUCOs is, if you win a JUCO national championship, now you're somebody. Now you can go in there and you can negotiate for yourself, right? But you're seeing All-Americans leave. You're seeing different kids leave, and that's because it's a bidding war now. It's sad, but it's a bidding war all over. You know, they raise these crazy. Could you imagine someone says, "Hey, man, I'm gonna pay you $500,000 to come to my school for this year. You got it."
Right. People are like, I don't make that in 10 years. So
because so I mean, it has its pluses and minuses, right? Right. In the football world, some of these kids are dirt poor.
Right.
Dirt poor. This helps, but then it creates a different, sense of entitlement.
All right, well, Coach, it's been a great talking to you. I got to go this segment of the show here where I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I want your opinions on them.
All right.
Okay? So full go. Tell me full opinions. What are your thoughts on
it? All right.
Kid playing 2 sports, wrestling and football.
Right.
Does that bother you at all when he's on wrestling time?
No.
That he's trying to...
Not at all, sir. Because, and I tell parents...
Do you encourage multiple sports?
You have to, because you want the kid to have a life, right? I'm not selfish. Go play football, because wrestling's going to make you a better football player. So I'm not selfish. Go play. Enjoy. I'm here, right? Football, like wrestling in high school, is a short season. As a club guy, I get you after, and we have fun, right? So I encourage it.
That's awesome. All right. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. You mentioned Mike Tyson earlier, punch in the mouth. What do you think about this fight happening, man?
Yo, the people are getting rich are the promoters, right? We're losing the art of wrestling. I mean, the art of boxing, right? but I want to see Mike Tyson just smash him.
You want to see him. You and probably most of America.
I want to see Mike Tyson smash him. Just
so you're gonna watch it.
oh yeah, I want to see Mike. I want to see Mike smash him.
Yeah, that's why.
I want to see Mike smash. But you know what? Hats off to Jake Paul, because Jake Paul is not even a professional boxer, and he makes more money than all the professional boxers out there.
Right,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
He's a YouTube sensation.
Yeah.
And he's marketed himself, his brand. So he's a genius.
Dude, I'll tell you what, the level of respect that I have for that man as an athlete too, though.
Yo, he's
like
a real,
that's what I'm saying. Like he's really more than just a YouTuber. Let's be honest.
He keeps himself in shape.
Yeah.
Right? He can box.
Yeah.
Right? And he knows how to market. So Mike is
and train, man. The discipline just to get your body, it's not easy.
Right? Like Jake Paul said, look, smart, right? I'm not gonna even mess with the boxing world. I'm gonna challenge these guys on YouTube. And then all of a sudden, him and his brother Logan, they're world known. Right? And they're not even like, they don't even have, dude, they're worth so much because they're willing to lay it all on their line.
Right.
Right? And so it's the greatest gimmick of all time.
Right.
He looked at Mike, and Mike, he said behind closed doors, so I bet.
Do you think it's a real fight though? Do you think it's gonna be real? You think it's already told who's winning?
It's already been decided.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping Mike smashes him. And if Mike smashes him, then everyone's gonna be happy. And if Jake Paul knocks Mike out, everyone's gonna be like,
it was fixed.
Mike's old.
Mike got paid. Mike got paid.
Have you seen Mike training right now?
Yeah, but again, we're seeing the highlight reel. You know what I'm saying? You're not seeing everything afterwards. You're just seeing the highlight reel. You know, you're seeing a burst of 12 seconds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can go like hell for 12 seconds. I'm just telling you right now. You know what I mean?
Savage.
Exactly, man.
Savage.
I can fight anybody for 12 seconds.
Yes.
Thanks. Absolutely. All right, last question, last opinion. I want to know. You got a student. You got a student. You've worked with this student your whole life. Unbelievable wrestler, state champ, multiple state champs and stuff. Gets offers to go to college anywhere he wants to go for wrestling.
Right.
But he gets the same offers for football and decides he wants to play football.
I seen it.
I know you have. I know you have. You got one.
I got one.
Dylan Fairchild.
Dylan Fairchild.
Right? Did that break your heart when he signed with Georgia Bulldogs? I know it was exciting. And first of all, hats off to Dylan, man. Awesome, great. Just so proud of you, happy for you. But
going back to go wrestle, like when things wasn't going his way. Here's the deal though. It goes back to that question: life after wrestling. Yeah. He had a great high school career, right? And D1s wanted him for wrestling, but dude, he got to live the dream. Yeah. Like in his life, he's played with some of the best football players in the world, right? He has rings.
Already.
Rings.
Already. He's still young.
I mean? And he's young.
Yes.
And he's humble. But you want to know something? If you get the opportunity to talk to Dylan, he's going to say wrestling changed his life. And the reason why he's so successful at football is because he wrestled.
We need to get him on a pod. We're going to bring him in, Panda. We got to bring him in.
For sure.
He'll
tell you that's why.
Yeah.
He will tell you that's why, because when you're in the trenches.
I just want to know what made him wrestling or football. What was because he was a phenomenal wrestler, man.
We're in the South.
I mean, people were not happy when his name popped up and they had to wrestle him.
We're in the South, and everyone dreams of playing for what?
Yeah.
Georgia.
That's true. Well,
who? You're a little kid. You're good at football,
or the Yankees, or the Cowboys.
It's like we're from New York. We got no choice.
Yeah.
If you're not a Yankee fan and you live in the Bronx, you can get jumped.
That's right.
I went to DeWitt Clinton High School. I had to pass Yankee Stadium every day. You come to my school with a Mets shirt on and see what happens.
That's right.
I dare you.
It's Mets and Jets and Yankees and the Giants, baby.
I dare you.
Yeah. That's it.
Come to my school with a Red Sox shirt on.
Yeah.
Or hat on. Son.
Yeah. You're going home with blood all over that
You might as well
shirt.
turn it inside out. My club, I have rules. You step in my club with another club team shirt on, I'm taking it off your body. And I'll give you another shirt. Like, this is my house. We must protect our house, man.
Yeah.
I don't play that game.
That's good. That's good. Well, listen, Chuck, been awesome talking to you and chopping up with a little bit, man.
It's my pleasure, man.
Really enjoyed it and stuff.
Pleasure.
Tell the viewers real quick, how can they follow you? How can they find you? And a little bit about your new facility up there in Gainesville.
So we're at 2811 Sardis Road up in Gainesville, right at the Chastity Sports Complex. It's a large facility. We're growing up there. We feed that whole Gainesville area. And then I'm also down here at Alpharetta, 1190 Tidwell Road, right by United Towing. You can find us at MarsFitnessWrestling.com. You can find us at MF Train on Instagram. You can find us also Charlie's MF Angels on Instagram. And that's about it. Or follow Chuck Mars Fitness on Twitter. And that's pretty much it, man. But,
Can anybody, somebody up in New York right now, they want to go to one of your camps? You got camp stuff? It's open to anybody.
Yeah, so, we have Tom Ryan, head coach, Ohio State, hopefully still coming down to do a camp for us. And then we'll have some more camps. And we invite everybody. We encourage everybody to come out. We travel, and we encourage anyone that wants to wrestle or travel to travel with us, right? We just don't close it off to our club. We invite everybody. So, our goal is to make champions on and off the mat and just to continue to grow the sport of wrestling. And Georgia is definitely leading the chase. Like, you had two animals in here previously.
Yeah.
Jacob Levy.
Oh, yeah, Jacob Levy is
Jacob Levy. I've known Jacob since
he's a real deal, baby.
I've known Jacob since he was this big.
Yeah.
That big, right? I traveled with him. He's always the most humble.
Brooks Clemens introduced me to him. Just his work ethics and his mindset.
Yeah, he's going
to be Olympic champ. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to Olympics.
He's always been like that.
Yeah, he's going to Olympics.
His dad. If you hadn't met his dad, he's the nicest dude on the planet.
Oh yeah.
There's another little one in there, though.
Yeah, there is.
There's another little one that people don't know about. Right. But Georgia wrestling is definitely on the rise, and we are, like I said, when you got kids like Gavin Kane, who was a All-American 2 years ago, and his little brother is at UNC also, University of North Carolina. We got a bunch of guys at that school. They're all wrestling for Rob Cole now. You got, what's the
So let me ask you real quick though. East versus the South, who are you taking now? Because you've been on both sides.
Ooh.
Where's your better wrestling, baby?
I'm gonna say this.
Be careful.
Our 1% will give them a run for their money, but when you go depth, they still got it. You know what I mean? Like their third, fourth, fifth place guys are hammers.
Yeah.
It's just because it's depth. Like if I had like that's where the war is at, right? The first place guys, they'll go at it, right? But then their third place guy is gonna crush our third place guy.
I got you.
Their fourth place guy, he's gonna murder our guy. You know what I mean? Because we have so many different divisions now. Right. So it's a little crazy, And
give the viewers one bit of advice for those that are out there watching right now. Kid who wants to wrestle or get involved in wrestling, a little bit afraid because he's hearing about all this savage stuff and this MF chant and everything, and he's afraid. He can't fit in.
Here's the truth. Here's the truth, right? Wrestling is the greatest sport on the planet. It saved my life, and it's good for anyone. And we're fortunate enough to have clubs like mine that exist all over the state. And I said, you just do your research, right? Try out the different clubs because everyone has a different fit that they're looking for. And I'm sure you'll be happy,
There you have it, folks. You heard it right there from Coach Charlie Morris, baby. And as he said, be a freaking savage. And wrestling creates savages. It does. You got to be determined. You got to have the hunger. You got to be disciplined. There's so many life lessons that you can learn from it. And you know what? As WamBam always says, if your life was a movie, would it be worth watching? If the answer is no, then stop being ordinary and start being extraordinary. Till next Wednesday, as always, baby, stay positive and keep testing negative. I'm your boy WamBam, and I'm out. This podcast was brought to you by Cost Plus Processing, the leader in merchant processing. Call 1-855-391-9190 and find out why they are the future in merchant processing.